Candice Box here. I am your conscious relationship coach, energy healer, and spiritual teacher. And I'm hanging out in my backyard, lanai, and the chickens are running all around me. And I love it because we've got an audience. We've got some hens and some roosters, and they're all about getting to understand what it means to shift your perspective and reframe what you're seeing, right? And there's been a lot of talk about shifting your perspective and reframing. So many people are teaching it because truly we have been stuck in a bubble. Maybe the square bubble, maybe it has a ceiling, maybe it has a floor, and it has these sides, and we call it four walls that literally trap us into an idea of how we view things. There's so much more in this experience that when we label things, label ourselves, label other people, we really begin to define them to make it more comfortable for us to feel safe and comfortable around them. Because as long as we can define our experiences, what is occurring, then we feel at least we're safe and we actually know it. However, there are times when we are being called to shift our perspective and transcend this reality into one that encounters, more love, more light, more connection, more joy. Like, we're totally afraid of it. And I don't want to be afraid of it anymore. And for me, the practice is in the present moment, because when you're present, you can reframe and shift your perspective because it's actually occurring. It's not something you can just think about, because the mind can ruminate over and over and over again about whatever is already stored in here, right? And some of us have very creative ideas, but they still have an element, a remnant of what was instead of what is possible, right? And one thing that really got me to help me shift my perspective is I was listening to this book by Paul Selig. He has a series of 9 books, and it is a living experience for me to listen to the work. And one of the things they said is, you have been walking for a really long time when you didn't even realize you can hover. And it's like, what? This idea of what we can do, how we can do it, what we're capable is something that we really haven't tapped into because we haven't seen it, or we disbelieve it, right? So what's interesting is I went to this personal growth and development seminar called Sci Seminars, and they had this experience where they had the rebars and the thick rebars that lay the foundation on a lot of these big buildings and that are around our neighborhood. So we had one of those, and they asked us to put it right here in the middle of our neck. Like, if you touch here, it feels like so vulnerable. You're like, are you kidding me? And they said to pick a partner. And so I picked my girlfriend, who I've been connecting with so much. She lives in Seattle. She is actually an amazing fitness coach, has her own podcast. And it's called Fuerte. So Adriana and I, we were in this experience together where we put the rebar here on our throat, and then we walk close to each other, and it's literally supposed to bend. And we take this thing and we're like bending it, pulling it, and it's like, you can't do that, right? And so you put it here and you walk to each other, you're like, what? So they walked us through a series of breath work and meditation. And breath work, oh my God, if you can breathe and be conscious of it, changes everything. You become more present. Your perspective totally shifts because you take in life rather than, narrow it down from what you know. So we walk and look at each other, and we're staring at each other's eyes, breathing and chanting. And then the instructor told us to walk, and I felt the push on my neck. And then all of a sudden, my friend was saying, you got this. And so I was like, whoop, serious, straight eyes, locked, committed. And lo and behold, the rebar was like, whoop. And I was like, holy crap. And I did hurt it a tad, because I disbelieved, right? And in that disbelief, it caused me to hesitate. And so then it kind of hurt a little bit. When I was just fully committed, it was a go. So take it what you will. However, who would have thunk you can bend rebar with your neck? Who would have thought maybe instead of walking, you can hover? When we shift our perspective, it really takes a whole idea from your experience, and you got to go from here to here. And that chasm is so wide sometimes because we can't even fathom what that looks and feels like. However, if we give ourselves the opportunity, that shift will occur, and then literally like everything changes, right? In a way that you are different, in a way that no one else, or maybe they are different because the way you're interacting with them, right? As a conscious relationship coach, it's so important to begin to see, everyone as your brother and sister. And, I was raised Catholic. I had lots, big family, and everyone was literally my brother and sister. But what I realized is the importance of like that connection and oneness. Like I respect you, treat you kind with courtesy, and that is a human being. I would love the same, to be your authentic self. And if, speak what you need to say in a way that I can hear it, and vice versa, right? Instead of like with the smart remarks, the hate, the poison, the fear. And, that's where we are. If that's where we are, then we got to express that. And that's the thing about shifting your perspective sometimes, is we often negate what we're actually experiencing, where there's magic in that experience. And when you negate what you're actually experiencing, you're denying the present moment, which then you deny a part of yourself and you keep yourself separate, right? If you're keeping yourself separate, then you're just like everyone else here that's thinking they're doing life on their own, right? And then they're pushing that cause, pushing the agenda, and then in actuality, we have each other, and not in the way that we think we have each other. It's like, the people will rise up to meet you when it's time, whoever that may be. And even if they're so-called, negative, positive people, I don't know if that's really true, because they're not really batteries, right? We are literally in this place of just revealing what is. And some of us are conscious to what we're doing and some of us not. And I still get triggered too. However, when you can control what's going on here, then the outer world changes. So back to being friends and having these relationships, right? Why do they change? Because you change. How you're interacting with them becomes completely different. And it's really important to take a look at why we're so different, right? We each have our own experiences. We're like a snowflake. Yes, we may live in the same country. Yes, we may speak the same language. Yes, we probably grew up in the same generation and like had a lot of the same pop culture, the shows, the TV, and then maybe even know a little bit more generations past because we were so interested in it, or, into future and, dimensions out beyond us. And so we have these interests, but no two-person is like, everyone's interest is so different. And yet we get so angry with each other, right? When the other person has no clue what you're doing or saying, or if it even matches what they've used to do or have done. And so we just need patience with each other, right? And if we have a shift in perspective of how we view and see everyone, not as like these separate beings, but as these separate beings having their own experience, and of which their whole universe is theirs, revolving around them, because that's what they perceive and see. I went to this other seminar that was really awesome, and it's called Landmark. And I'm going to give you the spoil alert because it is the thing that really changed my life. And in actuality, by going through the whole course and then having and knowing that at the end, it's like it leaves you less pissed off. Right? A lot of people got so pissed off because it's like the shift in perspective was so grandiose, they couldn't handle it, they fought it, they resisted it, right? So I'm just going to give you the answer. And the answer is there is no meaning in life except for the meaning you give it. So let that sink in for a second. So you might be saying, well, wait a minute. If I give it the meaning, then of course I'm experiencing it. And of course that's the life that you're living. Of course, like, why would it be any other meaning except for the one you give it? You're the one living it. Like, we can take on other people's meaning. You know, a lot of us do with what our parents say, what our relationships say, you know, don't do this, do that, don't do this. However, there's this building resentment that occurs that then doesn't allow us to be our true selves and really choose for us, because now we are now framed in these ideas of the people around us and the systems that are at play. So we've got to take a look at the systems. And I love this because this is what I'm learning in marriage and family therapy. And when I decided to take marriage and family therapy and I read all about how they view things, I was so excited. I was so excited because it finally took a look at the relationships we have, because we are not just this individual having a life experience. We're each learning from each other, and therefore we create a shared meaning, right? And so in this shared meaning, we all have a lot of the same experiences, but again, different. So for instance, you know, I was born in the United States. My ethnicity is Filipino. My parents both immigrated from the Philippines. I grew up in the generation of the 80s and the 90s, and basically had that pop culture, had no cell phone, was able to play and sneak out at night and literally have some shenanigans, just because that's what we were all about. And we figured things out on the street because a lot of our parents were working and not home. And a lot of you might have that same particular story. However, you might not be Filipino. You might not have lived in the US. Maybe there is, you know, commonalities, and if so, awesome. And if not, then, you know, not a lot of this will pertain to you because it doesn't make sense, right? And yet I might focus on that person where it doesn't make sense, and I'm going to try to make them understand when there's no way, because they don't have the experience. They can, you know, have the idea of it, but until you actually experience things, that's when, you know, you shift your perspective. And yet we're so afraid to have experiences, because that means we have to interact with people. We have to do things that actually take paperwork or time or energy. And, you know, we have so much on our plates, or we are afraid to do anything at all. So we have these different styles, behaviors, and we're learning about it ourselves, because for a long, long time, we just thought we needed to belong, and we're different. And in that difference, it's a good thing, right? It gives us an understanding. And what is so powerful about the difference is each being is informing the field through their experiences that expands out into the energy field, which informs the collective of how we would like things to be. Because in that humane organism connection, we are realizing there's a lot of shit out there we don't prefer. And people who have been unconscious, have been operating lower levels of existence, have been operating through fear, through power, through anger, through grief. And they're doing it in a way that then creates repercussions for our future. And they don't even realize they're doing it because they're just trying to look out for mine, right? I'm looking out for my life, my world, my who I am, but the who you are is all of us too. When we're shifting our perspective, we got to pay attention to the narrative story we're telling ourselves. And I am so guilty of it. And sometimes that narrative is so sneaky that you don't even know that you're defending and justifying it. Right. And when you're defending and justifying this idea of you, then you are locked in. You're so locked in, and you're not letting go, because somehow it has protected you, kept you safe, gave you power, gave you some sense of self that then helps you belong. in this world, in this existence, right? So if we're justifying defending, just kind of take a step back, observe yourself and go, wow, do I believe that to be true? Do I believe that I am worthless? Do I believe that to be true without a shadow of doubt? I better be curious about this because I don't know if that's true. I actually have been told, I've been taught, I've been hearing it that we are all worthy, right? And why would I not believe that then? Why would I not believe and make that true for me? And so it's so powerful to begin to be questioning your narrative and be curious of where you got that from. My husband and I have been working with an amazing mentor, Brian D. Ridgway, and his stuff is off the hook. Sometimes I'm like that spiritual gangster hippie and that I need a little kick in the ass that goes, pop, wake up, right? So he was that for me. And he talks about asking questions like that, really let your mind go and figure that out. So you, the soul that's always been here, be present with this body, with the self, to pay attention to your feelings and emotions, because the energy, which is emotion, energy and motion, has gotten stuck in your body. And when it's stuck in your body, it's like it creates tension, pain, inflammation, diseases, weak areas, because we're thinking it, we're feeling it, we're just like bombarding ourselves daily. I mean, how many of you have, anxiety going out and being social? It's a lot of energy out there, and some people got this whole thing down where they're like, I just want to, go out and meet people, and that's great, but they aren't always aware of the exchanges that are around us, right? And like with the frequencies of all the electronics, it's so raised right now, like my system is fried. I don't see how we're not all like standing up with our hair like this straight up, right? So if you're someone that, your emotional system and your nervous system is totally out of whack, like, of course, you're going to hide out and like hunker down and get away from people and get away from experiences because it's too freaking much, right? And when it's too much, sometimes like we don't level up ourselves on the internal. Like there is a part of us that we've got to take care of, and this body is it. But this body is not just a physical body. We have the mental, spiritual, emotional, and physical. We want to get physical all the time, and it's not about that. It's about all of these bodies. When we can take care of them and be present with them and tune in, then that informs how we can be on the outer realm, right? So what are you thinking? What are you feeling? What are you experiencing physically? And where are you spiritually? Are you here? Are you present? You grounded? You're in the thoughts. Where are you? Right? Because when those are in alignment too, they're not arguing with each other and pushing for their agendas, right? Then we can get in alignment. And when that alignment occurs, it almost feels like that state of flow. Like all of a sudden, it's like I have accumulated energy. I've protected my energy in a way that I actually can get beyond the chatter, the emotions, and be really completely freaking present with everything that's around me. So when you begin to see that aspect of yourself, then you can understand where you're at, because you're divided. We're as a people divided, we're as body divided. So we need to integrate, right? Let's integrate our four etheric bodies, our wonderful chakra system, along with our ability to connect with others and realize like it is like this huge, enormous hologram that's literally constantly feeding each other and giving us, a sense of meaning and experience. So the cool thing about shifting your perspective too is then, the creative process is a little bit more quick. And I don't know what quick is, but this time space continuum experience, it's not what we think. It's not a linear, this causes that. There's like multiple things that cause each experience. Sometimes we have no even frigging clue how. However, for me personally, I'd like to manifest things from up above to the side and around and round. So now we're coming to an alignment within ourselves. And what we're seeing now is, as we're aligned, like everything is actually in balance, because the chakras hold these karmic patterns of our meaning making selves. And from that, we have energetic distortions, which then project out into the world what we're experiencing. And based on the meanings we've given our narrative and the distortions, we then encounter these experiences that we believe to be true. And so when we have the filter of anger, fear, grief, desire, we are going to operate from that place. And in that place, we're going to forget who we truly are, right? David R. Hawkins wrote The Power versus Force book, and it's one of my favorite books because it talks about the energy levels of consciousness. Now, as a scientist doctor, he figured out a way to do a test, a research test, to see like what levels are people operating from, because he's like, how can we measure consciousness? It's so profound, it's so big. And in the 80s, he tried his best, and at the same time, I love it. So from a scale of 0 to 1,000 being enlightenment, 0 being like the lowest number, 25 is shame. Like we all have this consciousness. And when we're holding that consciousness, that is what we're seeing in the world. And my healing school teacher, Rui Ryburn of Sacred Path Healing, had asked us as a homework assignment to take a look at our energy levels of consciousness throughout the day, like measure it throughout the week. And I was like, well, I love me some hardcore facts because I'm very rational, right? And when I went through that school, the rationality, took a step back and I let my soul lead. So here I am, using my pendulum, testing, my energy levels of consciousness. And I realized at different time periods and what I was experiencing, what I was thinking at that time, definitely led me to see the different consciousness levels that I was at, right? So if we're going to shift our perspective, we've got to see what we're coming and operating from in here, right? Because if you're operating from anger, then you are going to be like likely to get into conflicts. You're going to possibly connect with other angry people that might yell at you, impatient, frustration, like all of that comes with the energy of anger. How about being present with the energy of courage, right? And these words, courage, love, faith, are all these wonderful healing codes that amplify, the energetic space around us. And we don't say them enough, right? So I'm going to say it. We're going to go into courage. We're going to go into love. And when you're operating from that, like the beingness that you are, that actually that's what it is, then you see that, right? However, it's not like I do things to get that and I'll have that feeling and I'll be that. It's not that model, right? It's the beingness, and we forgot about the beingness because we're so busy outward focus. What is everyone doing? How are they doing it? How come I don't belong? I'm afraid of it. Instead of like coming in here and like literally scraping our insides out and getting some of that like idea that we had, the meaning makings, out of the way by questioning it, right? And so many people now are questioning what that looks like for them. And that's a good thing, because people can say things, books can be written about this or that. They can have studied in their time period, done a lot of research. However, it's evolving. How is it evolving? It's like when you put information into the AI that we have now, it's learning about our world, our life, and who we are. And so it's going to spit that back out at us, right? And the more that we feed the AI with the word key codes of love and joy and peace and what that might look like as we experience this world, then it will evolve with us, right? So, and same with humanity. So now when you're operating from these ideas of shame, guilt, then you realize you could like tune in and it's like, oh, this is what it looks like. And this is the levels of consciousness. There's no hierarchy. However, this spectrum, like I'm operating here, and I really don't like that spectrum anymore. Like I prefer to go over here. However, what do we focus on? What we don't prefer. And what we don't prefer is like the guilt, the shame. And yet we like understand it so much that we just linger there, right? We get comfortable and we pull up a seat and we just sit next to it, maybe sometimes stuff it in a closet, but ultimately that's part of us, right? And what is it about that? It is the denial of that part of ourselves because we thought it did something wrong, it needs to be punished, it has no place here, and yet we are separating it and it becomes a shadow. So we don't even realize what we're creating. We're framing in an idea of all of this. So let's not deny it. Let's question, be curious, and begin to see it from different perspectives. So I want you to take a moment and just close your eyes and imagine a frame before you. And this frame has who you are right now. And maybe wherever you are, you're in your room, it's got almost like a mirror. You're looking at yourself, you're looking at your life. And right now, all you can see is that part of you. However, you can, in this meditation, go in through that mirror and begin to change it up a bit. Wave your hands around and offer, different imaginations, creations of what you really would like it to be instead of what it has been, right? And do it in a way that brings you joy, that brings you out of the funk, and not with the doubt. Like truly let all of that go for just a minute. You can totally pick it back up when you're ready, when you're done with this meditation, but instead, like breathe into the experience of who you really are, that inner heart, love, light, expansive energy that is full of peace, that has connections and knows the truth, right? Like tap into that part. Now, in that experience, in your world, in that mirror, what would you create instead? What do you prefer? What brings your heart that much joy? And can you step into that feeling for a moment? Really like lather in the sensations of your body, whether it be tingly or hot or open and spacious. And any energies, I'm going to clear some energy here, any energies that are constricting this, not permitting this, and not allowing the energy to expand. I command you to get into 999 container and make it go. The astral to receive the healing. Otherwise, you'll be reassigned according to your frequency. Release, 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 release. Integrate and transcend. Thank you. And now allow that energy to flow through the life force energy that just wants to bathe you with nectar and juices and vitality and so much light. Let it shoot out the top of your head and form this beautiful waterfall all around you, drenching you with the sweetness, the love, the kindness, the joy, the peace. Let your cells drink it all in. Let it soak into every pore of your skin. And as it runs down your body, it begins to purify everything that gets in its way, allowing more love, more light, more peace to just fill you and activate your DNA. Word, love, truth, faith, love, source, faith, love, source, faith, love, trust, faith, love, trust. And now, as you're here and present, you take a deep breath into your body. Delight in the spaciousness or what you have been able to open. And breathe out any inky black smoke that might be coming out through your nose, through your breath. Release, release, release. And then breathe in beautiful white light, expanding your chest, your lungs, your belly, and then letting it out with a sigh. And then breathe naturally. And when you're ready, open your eyes. So what I did was give you a moment to see the frame that you've been operating in and realize that you can change it at any moment. And as you stepped through that mirror and frame, you began to change it all up. Now, whether that occurs today, tomorrow, throughout the week, just let it unfold. There are things that you're still working on that um, you've got to see. And until you see it and until you can identify it and reintegrate it, then it will be there constantly showing you that way. And it's not that you've done this over and over and over again. It's about different layers of it showing up for you. 'Cause some things you're not ready to quite see, some things you're not quite ready to admit, right? We think we want it all, but if literally we were thrown into the deep end of the pool and didn't know how to swim, we'd be freaking the fuck out, right? And we don't want to do that to ourselves. Like, we've done that too much with our life experiences, just get thrown on in. And we now have an opportunity to make different choices, which means we are not operating from the edges of these extremes, however, from a centered line, a centered place where that presence gives us the opportunity to choose. And now that choice, if you can begin to let go of the ideas and beliefs that you think are true, can be more from a true choice where it's truly your choice. You want to do it. It's not good, bad, right, or wrong. There is no good, bad, right, or wrong. It just is an experience. And in those experiences are consequences to every action, every action. And that's why we get the experience we're having, right? So if you can begin to shift your perspective and look at what your present moment is actually offering you right now, it is a gift and it's offering you an opportunity for love for yourself, connection with another, being your authentic self, standing strong in your power, being able to feel safe and free in your body. It's all there for you. You've just got to find out what it's saying to you. So this is where you build a relationship with yourself because the perspectives you're seeing from could be from these fragmented, separated pieces. So we've got to integrate them and allow the fragmented pieces to come together so we can get the whole picture, right? So we're not just looking at it from a microscope and going like this. We're like taking it all in and assessing and discerning, right? That's why I love being a Virgo. I am discerning. The discernment was not so good when I was younger, but it's so much um more intact in this time of my life, thank God. However, I do have an amazing husband that really keeps me on my toes too, that helps remind me like where my goals, my dreams, my identity and what I'm operating from, and I do that for him, and that's friggin' fabulous. And I want to tell you all about that because we're having a relationship reset 8-week course that's coming up that's going to really dive deep into all of that. Because truly here, what I'm talking about is when we get back to our perspective, we are the only one having that. We can share it in the language we use, we can talk about it, but no two people are going to have the same perspective. So if you take a moment and you look straight, right, you're getting this purview probably of me. You're looking at me in the video. However, you can turn your head and it's a whole new world over there. It's like, whoa, that's my dog chilling over there. There's a gecko hanging out. If I look over here, oh, look at that. There are kitty cats underneath that house over there and birds flying around. Like, you look any which way and it's a whole different experience. I can even look underneath at me and I can see all these ants just like crawling around. Is simultaneously happening. And what we've done is we've focused on what we don't prefer. We focus on a problem. And when we're focused on that, guess what? It enlarges, it exasperates, and now we want to fix things. And so we keep on doing this thing called fixing things instead of being present with it and acknowledging it and realizing you don't have to fix things. Maybe we can just shift our perspective, shift our thoughts, and shift into a new way of being and doing things, right? So it really is a great shift, and the great shift is like that And it's all about choice, because choice is what we have in this moment. I mean, choice is our free will. It is our freedom to choose. And, I am hoping and praying that you choose from a way that is beneficial, that is aligned with you, that is supportive and loving to people around you, right? In a way that is responsible for your actions. And when we realize that truth has no opposite, that we really just are, we can be in a place where we're in the graces of the moment, and we recognize the beauty of every moment, right? Because even in the bad, so-called negative things that I've experienced, like, they were honestly some of the best things that have happened to me, because it brings me to a new awareness of where I am now, and those parts of me were unseen until now. So let's bring things back away from this binary good, bad, right, or wrong, and come from, our own inner compass and morals, right? Like, many of us haven't been taught that, but I do know I don't want to hurt anyone, and I don't want them to hurt me, right? Like, truly, do unto others what you would want have done unto you. Like, if we can really take that in and shift our perspective into that, then we realize there's not a lot of things that we really just all want to get along and chill out with each other, right? And just have a good time, be like, hey, neighbor, hey, postman, hey, this, that. So the world is changing. There's a lot more division. However, at the same time, simultaneously happening is the connection, is the truth, is consciousness. And it just is a simple choosing into it, right? So when we are allowing ourselves into that space, oh boy, what kinds of worlds will we create? Thank you so much for watching. I hope that helps you shift your perspective and reframe things in your own life. And if you have any questions, feel free to reach out to me. Again, I'm excited. My husband and I are doing a course called Relationship Reset. And it's all about individuals, couples looking to find that relationship within themselves, so that then they can have this relationship with others, not only your partner, but the people you love and care about the most. Then you have this right relationship with yourself and a right relationship with others. Thank you so much for watching, and I can't wait to hear comments below. I will see you next time again. Love, light, and aloha. Bye.